In this video, I'm going to show off my DrudgeReport clone website I built using Flask and beautifulsoup to scrape the articles off of the local news websites. DrudgeReport, as you can see here, this is a right-leaning or a conservative-leaning website. It's been famous for quite a long time. People love its simplicity, and what it does is it links to other news sites, so it doesn't create its own content, but it does change the headlines here to sometimes they're exactly the headlines, and then other times, or most times, they are edited to infer or suggest or create causation and correlation. So that's not the intent of mine. Mine's more of the look of this, and so I'm going to create my own DrudgeReport clone using Flask, and using beautifulsoup I'm just going to take the actual links and the actual headlines. So here's what the DrudgeReport website looks like. I don't have any Google ads yet, just runs from my local machine, links, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty standard. It's been like this since the internet kind of first came out. So let's check out mine real quick. So I only have 1 or 2 articles depending on how much is on here. And there you go. So that's mine, of course, no ads. So I have some links here. Please subscribe to my channel. Let's check that one out. All right, that goes to my YouTube, so please subscribe if you have a chance. And then I've tried to change the code so it doesn't duplicate, but I'm still getting duplicate. So right now on the one website I am managing to scrape, there's only one article that's financial in nature, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And so this links to this beautifulsoup.com website. And once I get more, this is a very small town where my small business is at. So if there is an article, it'll show up here. And if there's one, once I scrape the Shreveport websites, there will be quite a bit more articles here. So right now we're just showing one financial related website, or I'm sorry, article that was written in this beautifulsoup.com. So my goal is to scrape as many of the local websites as possible, and just to give me a financial website for me to read all the financial going on in my local city. So now let's go through the code. But first, welcome to the 192nd video on my channel, where I'm building my own digital assistant named Shane, like Jarvis from the Iron Man movies and comics. This is the 5th video in my Financial Genome Project playlist, and that is just a website and a project I'm using to kind of map out the financial genome of a city that I live in. So my city that I live in is actually 3 smaller cities. So we have the small town of Bossier, smaller town of Benton, and they're kind of the same more or less, and then a bigger city named Shreveport, but all of them combined are less than 500,000 people. So I'm from California, so anything less than 1 million is really small. Yeah, so now let's check out the code. So we're going to take this step by step, and the first one is to create a function or some code to scrape the websites for the information and store the title, the headline, and the link to that, right? So first we're going to import requests, and then from BS4 import beautifulsoup. You'll need to pip install beautifulsoup before you do this. We're going to create an empty article list to save all of the articles that we want. And then for me, I'm creating, I just want the finance ones. Anything that has to do with finances in my local area, I want to see the articles. So I have these strings here of all the possible articles I'm interested in. And these are just some, I'm going to have to increase this to really refine the data I want. Then the URL, so the URL, what we're looking for is this website here. It's just the local website we have here. See, Bossier Press. And now there's quite a bit of articles here that I'm not showing on mine, and this is because they're not financial related, like I mentioned. And so that's the URL we're going to scrape. So then we're going to pass that URL. So I just want the HTML text equals requests.get. You pass the URL .text. Then we're going to use the HTML parser of beautifulsoup. So then soup equals beautifulsoup. We're going to pass it this HTML text, and we're going to use HTML.parser. If anybody's familiar with beautifulsoup, I still use HTML.parser, but I've read that LXML parser is better. Leave a comment. I've used both, and I can't tell the difference if it's speed or accuracy. Then articles. So all the articles equals soup.findAll. And anytime there's a hyperlink, it's typically a so I right-clicked on that and pressed inspect. It's usually an ahref, right? So that is a link to somewhere. And so I want to find all of those. But it could be a lot of things. So we just want the href right here equals true. And then for each article, so this is going to collect every single tag that starts with ahref, okay? So for in articles, I want the link equals article.get, the href, and then I want the title equals article.get title, right? So if we look in here, the title is false active shooter called to local high school. So that is the title, and I want to extract that as well. If the title is none, so when I first ran this code, I got, 30-something titles that show none, which means they're links, which is most likely advertisements, and I checked and that's true. So that's just pass, right? We don't need that if the title is none. Else, so if there is a title, I want to store that in article data, and I'm going to make a list. So I want to store the title as title, which we already up here, and then the link as link, which is up here. And then we're going to store that in what's it called? In this article data right here. So so if the article data is in the article list, so this was my attempt at preventing duplicates, because when I run this code, there's quite a few duplicates. And so this was my attempt at eliminating all those duplicates. And it works more or less, except for the example I showed you. So if it's not already in there, right, so it's going to loop through every link. And if it's not already in this article list, I want to check for each word in the finance terms. Right, so now we're coming back up here. So first it's going to use the $sign. And if that $sign is in the title, then I want to append that article data, which is up here, to my blank article list. Then it's going to come all the way back up and then check it again, okay? Else, so just pass, right? If it's anything else, I don't want to read about it. And then this is just a quick print statement for testing purposes. So for every article in the article list, I want to print the article and title, right? Which is right here, the title. All right, but we're not done here, right? So we don't really need this. All we need is this completed code right here. So this is the function, right? This is how we get the articles that we want. Now we're going to make our Flask website. So the first thing we're going to do is import Flask. So you'll need to pip install Flask, or if you're using PyCharm, you can go to settings and then go to your project name, your Python interpreter, press the plus button, and then search for Flask. Okay, with a capital F, and install that package. All right, so we're going to import all the things from the code in a second, but for now, just from Flask, this time it's lowercase when you from it, import Flask render template, and request. All right. Then the first thing you do is you initialize your Flask app. So app equals Flask, parentheses, underscore name, underscore parentheses. All right. And then before we get too far into it, whatever you named your project, assuming you're in PyCharm, the first thing you want to do is right click on it and go to new directory. And you're going to create this directory right here called static. And then right click on that, go new directory. And then call it CSS, all lowercase. And then right click on that, new file. And I name mine main.css. And I think that is the standard for using a CSS file. Assuming you have one major website, then you'll have a main.css. And then come back up here, right click new directory, and then you'll type in templates with a lowercase. And then right click on that, new HTML file, and call it home.html. So these will be, I named my file app.py, but these are the 3 files you're going to use to build this website. All right. So you share your directory, disregard assets, and most of this stuff down here. So you should have static, and then underneath that, CSS, and then a main.css file. PyCharm will indicate that with a CSS indicator. Then you'll want to right click here, create your templates, home.html, and PyCharm will annotate that with an H. All right, and then go ahead and open those files because we'll go back and forth. Now, you're going to copy and paste this into here as a function though. So now we're going to import the requests from BS4, import beautifulsoup, right? So now those are in order. And then this is your function. I called it get articles, and it's the same code, but this time all we're going to do is return the article list. All right, and make sure it's all properly indented. So when you call this get articles, you are going to get an article list that we use to find all the financial related articles. Then, so underneath this, on the same indentation, then you're going to say app.route, right? This @ symbol, so it turns yellow in PyCharm for Flask. On this home web page, so assuming your page is just called, you didn't name the page, so it's not like index.html. This is just to say, hey, whatever web page you're on. Methods equals get and post. Now, I didn't really do anything with post yet. Everything we do is in the get method, right? We started the website. It reads the main. It reads the HTML. So those are all get functions right here. But if I build this app and I want some search query or something, we'll need the post. So for now, or I made a function called home. And then if request.method equals post, then we're going to return the render template, render_template of home.html. That's this right here. Else, so if it's not a post, so it'll be a get, article list equals get articles. And when you first start your program and click on the link, the very first thing you do is get, and that's what we'll call this function, right? So else get article list equals get articles, which will start this function. And now we have our article list here. Then we're going to return the render template, which is home.html, and article list, so whatever the variable name equals whatever you're passing to it. And this is important that you follow this naming convention because it makes it really easy. So these two should be the same. And then to run the program, if _name equals main, then app.run, debug is true. Debug is all this information down here. All right. And so that is our Python file. It's kind of small when you look at the actual amount of Flask code, right? This and this is really all the Flask that we used for this in Python. And then this is our function that we're going to use to get the articles. Now we're going to go into our HTML file. Now, let me show you what an HTML file. So I'm going to go in templates, new HTML file, test. It doesn't matter. Well, let's just test. So you already get boilerplate information here, right? So go ahead and just keep this in here and we'll use it. So let me run this again, this app.py, so I can run you through each step of this, because I find HTML easier to read when I'm going through it. There we go. All right. So here's the website again. So the head of this is boilerplate information, and then this one right here is title equals financial genome project, and then close it out. And that's this right here, right? This is the title of the page that's open. And then we're going to establish a CSS file. So we're going to link to a style sheet. And this is how you use Flask right here, right? So these brackets here, URL for static, right? So this is saying look for this static folder, CSS, which is this folder here, main.css, brackets, etc. And then close out the link. That is how our HTML page finds our CSS file, right? So that's in the head of this, right? Now we're in the body. So 2 blank spots. That's a break, line break. That way it starts a little lower if I did want to put an ad or something up there. Then the first thing we're going to do is we're past my YouTube channel, and I just did that for you, the audience. And I want it in an H3, which is a medium-sized font size. So please subscribe to my channel, ... Please subscribe to my channel, and I already showed you it links to my YouTube. Then we're going to line break twice, and then we're going to center this financial genome project in the H1 heading and italicized. So that's what this is right here. But you notice that I have a slight shadow to match the Drudge Report. Drudge Report. So see how his is shadowed? It's Matt Drudge, it's a he. See how it's shadowed? So I kind of created my own shadow using CSS, right? You see that shadow behind it? So in your main.css, you type in H1, curly brackets, and then I put text shadow, -2 pixels, which means it's going below it, and 2 pixels, which means it's going to go to the left of the font, right? So 2 below and then 2 offset. If you make this negative, -2, -2, then the shadow will go in front of it and below it. If you make the first one a positive number, the shadow will go above it. All right, and then I want it gray, right, to look like a shadow. I believe the default is black, which wouldn't make any sense, right, to have black on black like that. All right, going back to our HTML, then we do some more line breaks, and then I want to center, and I'm going to make a table, right, and I want the padding to be about 3 pixels, and then the width 100%. All right, and then in the table body, we're going to start our table right here. And then the first thing I'm going to do is table align left, vertical align top, width equals 33%, and then I want the text to be center aligned center. So what does all that mean? So we got this table, so let's inspect it. So first we're in this table, right? Now we're in the body of it. Now we're on the table, and then now we're in the left side, V-aligned to the top, right, to the top of the table. The width of the screen is 33%, and that Benton is text aligned to the center, right? Then we do the same thing to the center, but we're just doing another left top 33% text align center, and then the same one. And this one looks a little different right now, but these are just 2 tables right here, and then a third table that we stylized. All right. So then we do 2 line breaks, and then I want to left align the article stuff, right? So right now we're in the Bozier section because that's all I've done code for. So this is how you pass functions. So the div class equals left align. The reason why I did this is because if we type anything into it, it's going to be centered because it's going to take the center off of this. So I want to do a left align. And in CSS, you do dot left align, right? This is the class name. You can also put div dot left align. But anyways, you can just do dot left align, text align equals left. And that's saying for all the text, move it left. And then this is how you pass a function in Flask. So we have this curly brace, and then a percentage sign, space, and then type like you would normally type a Python for loop. For article in article list, and then close it out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a link. So ahref, which is the HTML for that, equals curly brace, article dot link, close out the href, and then the title is going to be curly brace, article, pass it the title, curly brace, and the link, the href, and then I put 3 line breaks. And then depending on which version of Flask you're using, you have to put an end for or an end if. That way it lets the HTML know you are done with this function. You don't have to do that in Python. You don't have to end the for loop. But in Flask you do. So if you look at older tutorials, I don't know when exactly, but you will not see this end for, and you will get a an error that says, hey, we were looking for an end if or an end for, and that's what it's talking about. Then we're going to close this division. And then we're going to close this center portion for now. And then I created my own right column. And the right column has to look slightly different because I don't want this right here. And I'll show you in a second. But so right column, and then everything else is the same. Align left, v-align top, 33%, center, but this time it says Shreveport. So what I did here was a TD, which is a table. I want a border, which is 2 pixels wide, and I want it to be solid gray. That's what this is right here, this gray line. Right? That's the CSS is saying, hey, I want to put a border. So if I have 50 articles, it'll keep generating this border, and that's similar to this border here. Now he's created borders below pictures and major themes, and I have not done that. I don't want to. And so that's what this is. But I don't want a right border here, right? We don't want that. And so I just want it to be at the end of the page just like this. So to do that, we had to use CSS to say the right column, there is no border. 0 pixels, 0 color. Right? So it's invisible. So there's still a border. It's just not defined anywhere. So td.rightColumn, which is what this is, class equals right column. Then we close out the table body and the table, close out the center, close out the body, close out HTML. And that is how you create a site like this. So this right here is the key of running a function inside of a Flask website. And what's that? The only way you can access this article list is right here. When we returned the home.html, right? When it sees this get, right? It's going to look for this home.html, and you have defined article list equals article list. So if you're planning on bringing more variables or functions from Python into your HTML, then you have to return it here with comma separated. And then the nomenclature I've normally seen is variable equals the variable. That way it's easier to use. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you're interested in watching me build my own digital assistant or continue working on this website. And once I have all the cities and all the terms due, we'll maybe do a quick Python short and look at what the video looks like then. Maybe we'll pass some images in and so on and so forth. So thanks for watching. Goodbye, world.